Howdy, I'm Blaine Carter, and I'm here to welcome you to another Oracle Developer Live event. Today we'll be talking about AI and ML for your enterprise. If you know someone who's not with us right now that would like to join, there's still plenty of time. Just send them over to the main events page and they can join us whenever they are ready. Also, please join us on Twitter using hashtag OracleDevLive. Now, as you know, artificial intelligence and machine learning are a couple of the hottest technologies out there right now. So if you're like me and you're just getting started and you'd like to explore these technologies a little bit, of course, Oracle has some tools to help you out with this. Let me switch over to the share screen. There we go. Of course, this is these tools are available on the Oracle Cloud and on the Oracle Cloud free tier. So if you don't have an Oracle Cloud account yet, just sign up for a free tier account. And once you have your account set up, create an autonomous database. Once it's up and running, it'll look like this, and you'll click the Service Console button. That will go over to there, and of course I'm signed out. Let me sign back in. There we go. That'll bring you to a screen like this, and under development, you'll find quite a few really useful tools in this area, but the one we're focusing on is Oracle Machine Learning Notebooks. So when you click on that, you'll get into this area. You'll have to log into that. But in here, you'll find a place for creating notebooks, running jobs, and of course, a lot of helpful examples and some other information. And if you need a little extra help, just click on these eyes up here for information, and it'll take you to some documentation to help you get going. So with that, next up, I'm going to go over some highlights from today's agenda. But of course, first, as always, I have to apologize for my mispronunciations that I'm about to make. I have a hard time saying names. I have a hard time saying my own name sometimes. So I'm just going to pre-apologize and say sorry for that. And let me switch over to, I'm going to do this with a slide deck this time. So first up, we have Elad, who joined Oracle about 4 months ago after spending 14 years with Microsoft. He's one of the founding fathers of Microsoft's cognitive services, back before they were even called cognitive services. See, pronunciation, even on words I should know. Today, Elad will be giving a keynote presentation talking about how he sees the future of AI and ML and what the state of the world is now and where it should evolve to truly be productive and useful for developers and enterprises. After that, we have an awesome group of speakers lined up for you today, and just a couple of the sessions to highlight. We have a session on accelerating data science using the Oracle Accelerated Data Science SDK, and this will be from Jean-René and Nupur. And then there's another session, Building Intelligence, how to build a digital assistant. This will be from Grant. This is probably one that I will hang out in. I've been doing a lot of stuff with home automation, and so this interests me quite a bit. And then another session to look out for is AutoML, the future of machine learning, from Mark. All right, so after the talks, there will be a panel discussion on the future of AI development and how to embed AI in every application. And then after that, we will have 4 different hands-on labs. There'll be 2 labs at a time. Now, previously in the other Oracle Developer Live events, these hands-on labs have been very popular, and so lab attendance has been limited to make sure that the people who are running the labs have enough resources to be able to give you their best support. So these labs will be joined on a first-come, first-served basis. So as soon as the sessions are over, get in there and click on the button to join the lab to make sure that you get a seat. Now, if you have any trouble choosing between which topic you want or which session you want to watch, because we have some really great sessions lined up, don't worry. The sessions will be recorded, and a link to the on-demand version of all of the sessions from today will be sent out in an email to everybody who's registered for the event today. All right, so the way that this is going to work, let me find that slide, is when you look at the agenda, you'll see something kind of like this. And we've made a change for this event. So rather than just having it stay static, it will auto change the background of the current track that's running, and the current sessions will have a yellow button instead of the green, the kind of brownish gray. I don't know, my wife says I don't see colors correctly, but the button will change to a yellow color. And so if you're, say you're in this session and you want to be in that session, or you're in this one, you want to be in the other one, or you drop a session, you know, whatever, and you want to join, just go click on one of the yellow buttons and that will get you into the session that you want to be in. And each of these sessions will be 30 minutes long, followed by 10 minutes for Q&A. And we have some experts in the background that are going to try and answer some of the Q&A as it goes along, and then when it gets to the 10 minutes in the end for the Q&A, then the speakers will answer some of the tougher questions that are left over. So let me switch back to the full camera here. All right, so the way you ask questions in the Zoom sessions, pretty much everything except for the hands-on labs are going to be in a webinar, in a Zoom webinar. So down here on the bottom, you will see a Q&A button. So if you click the Q&A button, type in your question, one of our experts will attempt to answer the questions, and like I said, saving them for the speakers at the end. And then when you're in the hands-on labs, those will be just a little bit different. The hands-on labs will be in a meeting format, so it will kind of be up to the instructor on how they want their questions asked in there. Typically, you can just ask a question in chat. They might turn on the audio, or they might put you in a breakout room. Lots of different options, and they will let you know how they want to handle questions in the session. All right, and so kind of like what I mentioned above, once this is all done, you're probably going to want to go out there and try some of the things that you've learned. And so you can go to the oracle.com/cloud/free website and sign up for a free trial account, and then try out some of those tools that I showed you earlier. All right, let me check my notes, make sure I covered everything I'm supposed to. All right, looks good. All right, that means it's time for Elad to talk to us about the future of AI and ML and how it can help your business.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elad Ziklik, and I lead the product management team for Oracle's AI and data science services. Thank you so much for joining me today for this session and the rest of the event during the day. Let's get things started. So we're here to talk about the future of AI and machine learning, but to talk about the future of something, it's usually a good idea to look at its history. So let's start with just a little bit of history, almost philosophy of AI and machine learning. So 1962, Arthur C. Clarke, a famous sci-fi writer and futurist, said that any sufficiently advanced technology is basically indistinguishable from magic. And AI truly is magical. A lot of advancement, a lot of crazy devices in our home, in our car, autonomous driving, and it really is amazing and picked up a lot of ground over the last, say, 50 years. It went so far that 50 years after Arthur C. Clarke's quote, Harvard Business Review called a data scientist the sexiest job of the 21st century. Which sort of led everybody to the realization of, hey, you can just hire a data scientist and everything will be good. Took Eliezer Yudkowsky, one of the more prominent AI researchers, only a year to basically say that if too many people think that they understand AI, that will actually lead to significant dangers. And led Forrester, the analyst company Forrester, about a year later to come up with almost a parody video saying our product is superior, our price is much cheaper, but we are losing in every market. One of the manager characters was saying, like, how are they winning? And then the answer was, they have an algorithm on their board, which sort of shows like how mature the world was when we were talking about AI. As little as like 7 years ago, thinking an algorithm is some person that sits on somebody's board. And if you want to go and look at the history of data analytics and machine learning and AI, like I bet you don't know where this image is going. So 20, 30, 40 years ago, if you want to talk about like data intelligence and finding things in data, all you had to worry about was basically a bunch of tables. Okay, all of your data was stored in a bunch of SQL tables. You had no data scientists, but you had other mythical unicorns called DBAs, and they were the ones that knew how to find insights in your data by running a bunch of like weird store procedures. Fast forward to 2020. I'm borrowing a former colleague's quote, like, you know the difference between AI and machine learning? So if it's written in Python, it's machine learning. If it's written in PowerPoint, it's AI. Okay, as said by Matt Veloso, who is the TA for Satya Nadella at Microsoft. And people still use these terms interchangeably between AI and machine learning and deep learning and whatnot. And trying to figure out during this session, like, where is AI now, and where is the future of AI, where should it go in order for it to be actually successfully used in your enterprise? Because if we're looking at all the hype and all the articles of AI, it seems like AI won everything. 1997, IBM's Deep Blue beats Garry Kasparov at chess, huge celebration. Everybody was like, yes, this is the end of humans as far as intelligent human beings. AI is going to beat everybody. 14 years later, IBM Watson beats the Jeopardy record holder and champion at the time, Ken Jennings. Again, huge celebration. Google was not too late. A few years later, beat KG, the number one Go player, also a very sophisticated game. And the same year, Microsoft AI achieved the top possible score at Miss Pac-Man. So that's a true statement. Now, if there was an AI that could beat Fortnite, there was some serious money to be made. If there was an AI that could beat FIFA or Madden or NBA 2K, then maybe I could get my kid to focus on computer science in school. But unless you're actually working in chess.com or you're QAing some old arcade or Atari games, like, how does any of that help you? So let's see the progress made in AI for more like business-related scenarios rather than games and entertainment. So in 2017, both IBM and Microsoft achieved and even surpassed what's called human accuracy on the NIST 2000 switchboard test. It's a test based on recordings of telephone conversations between strangers, talking about things like sports and politics. Literally a couple of weeks ago, Google and Microsoft exceeded human performance on what's called the GLUE benchmark. This is the industry standard in evaluating language models, which is pretty impressive. 6 years ago, researchers reported beating the famous ImageNet challenge. ImageNet is the most common machine learning challenge and benchmark for computer vision. So AI must be winning, right? Like, we can use it for everything we want. We have machines that can read and hear and see better than us humans. So it must be no-brainer to use these magical, amazing technologies and solve any of our challenging business problems that we have. Well, it turns out that it's not that simple. In fact, while we use AI like everywhere in our daily lives, almost everywhere, it still has flaws. Take, for example, one of the most promising AI-powered services or devices that you have at your home. Take Roomba. Okay, this robotic vacuum cleaner is amazing. But if I'm looking at like Google's autocomplete, look at the top things that people struggle with when it comes to the Roomba. And I'm not talking about like mechanical errors or connectivity errors. I'm talking about AI errors, computer vision related errors. If we explore Google's autocomplete just like a tiny bit further, we see an interesting event. Like, for those of you who are more visual in nature, allow me to show you a photo courtesy of an ex-colleague of mine, Ashley Willis McNamara, and her Roomba. So her Roomba had an interesting encounter with her dog's poop, running all over it and then spreading it all over the house. And if you think this is unique to poor Ashley's Roomba and her dog, it turns out that it was so common that Roomba's creator actually had to respond to this in an interview, saying that, yeah, we know about this apocalypse. We see this a lot. So that's interesting, AI at our home. And you're probably saying, well, not a big deal. Like, Roomba is just not good enough. But like, speech technologies have to be perfect. That stuff is amazing. I've been using this for years. So let's take a look at like the two most impressive digital assistants, digital agents out there, like Alexa and Siri. If you look at those and you look at the Google search autocomplete, same interesting pattern. By the way, like from a personal experience, like there isn't a day that goes by that I don't actually have to shout at Alexa in order for her to understand me. Again, some issues with my accent and whatnot. anyone who's ever found himself shouting representative at his phone just to be able to get out of some AI-powered IVR when he's trying to talk to Comcast or telco provider, and the AI doesn't understand you well enough, you know what I'm talking about. I can share another example from my past life. Like, as some of you may obviously notice based on my amazing accent, I wasn't born here in the United States. I was born in Israel. And 25 years ago, I actually served, as all Israelis do, in the Israeli Defense Force, in the intelligence corps. Internet was very, very early infancy, and most written communications were actually done through faxes. Remember faxes, these machines where you put in a paper and out it pops in the other side? And we had to figure out how to OCR, how to do optical character recognition on a bunch of documents in a bunch of languages. And it worked reasonably well for printed documents, but the biggest struggle was with handwriting. If somebody wrote something on a piece of paper and you had to like OCR it so you can actually scan it and index it digitally so you can actually search for content later, it was actually very difficult. And you know what? Amazingly, it still is. Like 25 years later, there still isn't a good enough handwriting OCR though that you can use for every language. There's a lot of very good software for parsing your handwriting as you write it, like does recognizing strokes. So if I write a surface or whatever would be able to do this very well. But if I've written a piece of paper and I try to scan it and OCR it, that thing doesn't work too well, especially not in obscure languages like Hebrew or whatnot. In fact, you don't even have to believe me. If you look at Gartner's recent hype cycle, this is Gartner's hype cycle for AI 2020, as late as July 2020. You can see that even the most commonly discussed concepts like natural language processing, computer vision, chatbots, even general purpose machine learning, all of these things are just starting their journey, somewhere on their journey from inflated expectation into the trough of disillusionment. Very few of them, according to Gartner, have managed to reach the productivity area. The one thing that Gartner calls, this is like fully productive now, is using GPUs to accelerate training a bunch of large models. So let's explore this a bit. Why is AI still so very, very difficult to use? What is the issue here? So let's say you actually want to use AI to solve a real business problem. Let's talk about support ticket classification. Imagine I'm working as a support engineer for my company that produces a bunch of software that people then take and go and deploy on one of the public clouds to run. And I have a bunch of incoming emails and I have a bunch of incoming tickets, and I want to easily identify and categorize the products that are being mentioned and the issues that are being mentioned. So in this particular case, imagine somebody complaining, hey, I tried deploying this Ziklik for Enterprise library, worked great on OCI, crashes on AWS, can't get it to work on Azure, please help. Okay. So how do I automatically classify these things so I can actually route this to the relevant experts? Maybe I have an Azure expert, an AWS expert, an OCI expert, and whatnot. So the thing that you'd probably do is you'd probably go and search for natural language processing in the cloud. The first thing is actually Google's NLP cloud offering, and that actually looks great. Let's try it out. So I've put in my ticket that we just showed, and I clicked on analyze, and like looking at the results here, we're seeing some interesting outcomes, some interesting results from this service. So AWS classified as an organization, and the Wikipedia article that talks about AWS, so that's good. Azure, on the other hand, is classified as a consumer good for whatever reason. OCI is actually identified as an organization, but there's no entity being resolved. There's no Wikipedia link to this thing. Code is a work of art, which probably is true. And Ziklik, something in the parsing of Ziklik for Enterprise got corrupted, so I didn't get the full product name. So if I then go and match this entity extracted against my product database, I would actually fail. So what is the point of this? What is the point of this? Is the point to say, hey, Google's natural language processing service is just not good? Well, maybe a little bit, but that's not really the point. The point is that this service and most of the other services, we actually train on a general purpose corpus that they've chosen. And that is great for a lot of business problems. It just happens to not be great for my particular business problem, which is software that runs on the cloud and gets deployed on various cloud providers. And it's not a very easy problem to solve. If I search for OCI on a search engine, you can see the problem. There's a whole bunch of OCIs. Like the top answer is overseas citizen of India as OCI. Then there's this the one that I'm actually looking for, the Oracle Cloud, and there's a bunch of others. So I go to the Wikipedia page, which is how Google's natural language processing service, and also a bunch of others like Azure and whatnot, used to do training and entity linking and whatnot. You see there's like probably 24 OCIs out there. One of them is the OCI that I'm looking for, this Oracle Cloud infrastructure, but it's one of a couple of dozen. And unless I train my service on a particular corpus where this OCI is more prevalent than the Olympic Council of Ireland or the Ontario Cancer Institute, it's very hard for an AI pre-trained model to pick the right one out of the mix. And amusingly, it's not just about language. Let's look at a computer vision problem. Let's say I work at the Pokemon training facility as a bartender, and I need to recognize Pokemons that walk in through the door and make sure that they are, I don't know, old enough to drink. Okay, so this time let's speak on Microsoft's computer vision API. Now that thing does a pretty impressive job at analyzing. Look at the scores here. So this is an animal, and this is an abstract drawing of a cartoon character. So it's actually like pretty impressive job. But what it doesn't do is that it doesn't recognize what you would expect. It's not Pikachu. And this is because of the same reason. It was, in most likelihood, was not trained on Pokemons. It was trained on general purpose things. And while I guess it saw some cartoon characters as part of training, that's why it knows that it's a drawing of a cartoon. It doesn't know that it is Pikachu and that it is not allowed to drink a beer at my bar. And this is not just these examples. Actually, some of these APIs actually allow you to add your own vocabulary and improve it a little bit. But generally, you don't want to do that. Like, I'll have to continuously maintain this thing. I have to take care of spelling errors and acronyms and abbreviations and Pokemon's evolving and whatnot. And honestly, in most cases today, all the fancy pre-trained AI models, whether it's from Google or AWS or IBM or Microsoft or whatnot, basically the equivalent of like putting you in a car and sending you in a road that ends in a dead end, ends in a brick wall. Sometimes you can drive for many days or weeks or months. Sometimes you hit the wall immediately. Actually, very much depends on your particular scenario. For example, the word battery means one thing if you're talking about consumer goods and retail, but it means something completely different if you're talking about a legal proceeding. Okay, so depending on the context, that word means different things, and you want your AI services to be aware of the context in order to return the right reason, the right outcome. So let's shift gears and look at another example, a bit more enterprisey in nature. Imagine I'm a retailer, and I'd like to allow customers to simply take a picture of an item that they like and then find the closest match in my catalog. Okay, you can see a chair at a friend's house, take a photo and find like what does it look like in my catalog? What is the closest that I have? Or you walk at the actual storefront, take a photo, or maybe even look at a fancy catalog. I get these fancy IKEA catalogs sent to my home. I look at the thing, I take a photo of something and get a link. Well, it turns out that this problem of visual search seems like a simple object detection or object recognition problem, but it actually is not very simple. Doing this for an object like a chair is fairly doable. It's not trivial because object can be rotated, different lighting, different colors. It's actually pretty doable. But imagine like this situation where, well, if any of you had to buy diapers in a supermarket, especially in a US supermarket where there's like an endless amount of variety, then like this poor man's dilemma with picking the right diaper package would be similar for a machine, would be similar for an algorithm. Diaper package basically look exactly the same visually. The only difference might be the size. This has 30 diapers, this has 60 diapers. Might be the number of units, might be the number on the size. This is for size 3, this is for size 4. And a regular computer vision algorithm that will just do like image processing similar to finding the right shell will just fail. All these packages look the same. The only thing that differentiates them for human eye is the text. So if you want to do visual search on, say, packaged goods, well, you need to do OCR, and you need to use the text that you found on the package as a very, very strong feature to differentiate the various packages. Just uploading your photos and your catalog would not be good enough. You actually need to be able to look at the text and use that as features if you want to do visual search. If you're in fashion, this gets even more interesting. Look at this photo, for example. A lot of these shoes are looking very, very similar. The only thing that could potentially differentiate some of these shoes from another is, let's say, a logo. So if you want to do visual search on shoes or sneakers, you need to recognize a Nike swoosh or Adidas stripes or whatnot on the shoes, and use that as a feature for your machine learning model. Otherwise, you return the wrong item from the catalog, because for computer vision algos, all these things look really, really, really similar. And this is actually what happens in real life. This is, in this case, Bing search, Bing's visual search. I searched for Nike shoes, and I clicked on the shop for similar button. Now, they actually, again, do a very, very good job as far as computer vision is involved to identifying all shoes that sort of look the same, black and white and whatnot. But if I'm looking for Nike shoes, I want a Nike shoe, and some of these are different type of brands, because you need to first pick up the logo, use it as a feature. It's almost a different set of algos to achieve the exact same problem, just because it's a different domain. In this case, it's shoes. So what now? If the absolute best AI services providers in the world won't work for my scenario, what am I supposed to do? How am I going to solve this problem? So the answer, of course, is let's go build it ourselves. Let's hire a team of data scientists, and let's use a machine learning platform and do the needed. How hard can that be? The answer is, unfortunately, it's really hard. This is, for example, AWS's machine learning platform, SageMaker. Here's a screenshot of what it looks like on their portal. There are 12 different boxes under the SageMaker brand to choose from. Good luck with that. Doing data science on your own is actually not trivial. Getting data, cleaning it, training, deploying, monitoring, retraining, the whole end-to-end life cycle of machine learning is complicated. That's why we have these platforms and things like MLOps. That's why AWS created all these capabilities. Now, it's not, again, not saying that AWS necessarily did a bad job with their ML platform. It's one of the leading in the market, and there's a reason why they have all these modules. But there's also a reason why all these data scientists are super smart, often PhD wielding, talented, hard to come by people. This stuff is not trivial. It's pretty hard. And the point I'm trying to make is that not that all cloud vendors suck, except Oracle. Well, maybe a little bit. Seriously, it's actually a bit different. The point I'm trying to make is that most successful technologies are at their very best when they are invisible, when you don't have to worry about them. They just work. Invisalign is like that, sort of. Electricity is like that. You go to a room, you flip a switch, there's light. You don't actually care that some very smart people were there before you to wire everything up. You actually care even less that some smarter people hundreds of years ago came up with all the formulas that tell us how it's supposed to work. In fact, you're only aware of electricity. It only becomes not invisible once there's a power outage. Then suddenly you're aware of electricity is gone, like something is wrong here. That's how good technologies should be. But unfortunately, AI is not there yet. Even with all the claims of superhuman accuracy and billion parameters, deep learning network models, I personally can't get the assistant embedded in my car to properly dial my wife on the first try. And last night, true story, my son is 15th birthday is in a week, and I was asking Siri, what is the minimum driving age in Washington? And instead of spitting back 16, which is the answer, I was presented by a set of blue links that I'm supposed to read through and figure it out. So it's not easy. And question is why? Why isn't it easy? Why, with all the advancement in AI, this thing still doesn't work the way I want it to work? It's still not invisible. So I think one of the challenges, or maybe the crux of it, is based on this quote by Steve Jobs from 20 years ago. Have faith in people. They're basically good and smart, and if you give them tools, they'll do wonderful things with them. And honestly, I think this is the crux of the problem. in the space of AI, machine learning, in most cases, we have tools. The AI and machine learning services that we have out there are basically designed as a set of building blocks. Now, if you are very smart and creative and you have a lot of time on your hands to experiment and try, you can build beautiful things. You can build magical things. This is a photo I took 7 years ago from a Lego exhibition I visited with my family when I'm still back in Israel. This is a cello by Nathan Sawaya. It's if you haven't seen this out of the brick exhibition, it's I don't know if it's still playing around. It's amazing. So this is Lego. This is a cello made of Legos. But if you, like me or like most developers out there, this is basically as far as you go. This is as good as it gets. It takes time, it takes dedication, it takes a lot of data, trial and error. And honestly, not every company was created equal. Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon, Oracle may have armies of data scientists and millions to spend, and they have applied research labs that can build machine learning models at scale and whatnot. But the majority of companies out there just simply don't. That's not their core business. You don't want to have thousands of data scientists building machine learning models. What you actually want, if you're like me in the context of Lego, is you want the Lego sets. You want something that has all the Lego blocks that you need with clear instructions on what to put where and in what order. And like, don't feel bad about people like me who use Lego sets. Like we are still builders. Like we still develop something. My kids, when I work with them on one of these Lego sets, we still build things. We still tweak some things around and change some things. We still develop. It's just easier. Not like going to a shop and buying an already built Lego Eiffel Tower or Lego Death Star that somebody's already built. Like these are still tools for builders. You still have to put effort, sometimes a lot of effort, because some of these sets are actually huge and very complicated. But if what you're trying to solve happens to be building an airplane, then the Lego airplane kit is a far better starting point than just going into a store and buying 2,000 Lego pieces and hoping you'll come out with an airplane from Lego. And like bringing this back full circle, back to AI, if your problem, for example, is to do visual search on packaged goods, you should have a Lego set for that. If your problem is language understanding for high-tech products, you should have a Lego set for that. If your problem is understanding attrition and retention with your employees, you should have a Lego set for that. And the reason why it's not happening, like why don't just the cloud providers just go and do that? Why don't they just pre-train ML models for all the verticals and horizontal scenarios and just make them work? Well, the answer is, regretfully, it's pretty hard. It requires a ton of data and significant domain expertise. You have to understand education or insurance or energy or construction in order to build good models for these domains. And for most cloud companies, their core DNA is general purpose platforms. Microsoft builds Office and Azure and SQL Server. Google knows search very, very well, but not oil and gas or logistics. Amazon is a world leader at retail, but not at telecom or pharma or hospitality or insurance. Other companies might actually have the industry DNA, but they don't have the cloud platform DNA. Salesforce is a leader for some of these apps, but doesn't have a cloud platform. In fact, honestly, there's only one software company that has both a general purpose cloud platform and is a world leader in SaaS applications and domain-specific applications, and that's Oracle. So if we're looking at Oracle's data science and machine learning platform, it allows you to build and train and deploy and manage and apply machine learning models. It has all the components that you need for moving data and managing it and supporting all these complicated end-to-end life cycles for machine learning. And we already talked about how the hardest part of this journey is finding the right data, the right domain data, the right domain expertise to go and build all these AI capabilities. But imagine if you could actually come full circle and pull in all the data that is already stored for the past decades inside your Oracle applications, all your vendor bills and invoices from your ERP application, all your employee data from your HCM application, your customer data from your CRM app, product inventory and shipment from your SEM app, or simply just even your enterprise critical data that sits inside your Oracle database or data warehouse, and just bring it in and use it to retrain or improve or generate your AI models. And what if you could do that? So to talk a little bit about that in action, I'd like to welcome Manisha from our analytics team to join me and demo you some of these concepts as they apply to our HCM analytics product. Manisha?
Thank you, Elad. Hi, everyone. I lead the team that builds HCM analytics products at Oracle. Our vision is to enable companies worldwide to grow their employees and in turn their businesses using the power of people analytics. My colleagues focus on analytics applications for other applications like finance, supply chain, sales, and marketing. At Oracle, we offer a complete and integrated data and AI analytics platform, including a variety of applications and data sources, even streaming data, a catalog of information assets, data catalog for visibility, discovery, and governance, a rich data science capability to drive augmented analytics, and low-code, no-code application development kit for bespoke development. Now, Elad and I agree that while AI and ML offers unprecedented powers to make analytics more meaningful and actionable, they're still tools, a means to an end, not the ends themselves. In the last decade, we have witnessed accelerated innovations in the field of analytics. Scenario modeling, predictive analysis, natural language processing are no more a novelty. As Gordon Moore, the co-founder of Intel, had predicted, technology advances and prices reduce every 2 years. These days, perhaps even faster. So much so that it is easy to get lost in the talisman of the cool technology stack. For businesses to succeed, though, we need more than just the cool tech. It is vital, hence, that while we leverage technological innovations to solve business problems better, faster, cheaper, we also stay focused on the beneficiary. It's critical to know whose problems we are solving. What issues are they facing? Their expectations from the desired solution, nuances of their roles, domains, industries, and geographies. For example, the needs of a data engineer are very different from those of a data scientist, a data analyst, or a business leader. And we've got to cater to all of them through the solutions we provide. Now let's make this real. The field of HCM analytics is proliferating with several advanced analytics use cases, from best fit hire to team analytics to survey analytics. Though we can get a head start by leveraging existing ML models, we cannot apply them blindly to drive the business forward. It's just not going to work. For example, on the right, I'm showing you a tag cloud based on a survey analytics, but for the restaurant industry. We will have to train this model with the domain-specific dictionary, stemming rules, weights, sentiment analysis for the different words used by employees, etc., 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 before drawing trustworthy insights out of an employee survey data. Now, the seeding strategy for Oracle Analytics is an ambitious plan to make advanced analytics broadly available to our business users in a frictionless manner. Let's say we want to analyze attrition. We'll start with an existing technology, for example, regression models. We'll then enrich with pre-trained AI models. Then we will have to enrich it with attrition data. Now, attrition models differ by industry, by geography and type of workers, etc. So next, we will have to enrich the models for an industry like technology. Finally, we will have to focus on the business goals. For example, a company may be interested in identifying high risk and high impact roles, and the model we will train to get those insights. Let's take another quick example. Language analytics, very powerful. How can we use it? We can enhance it for sample data, then we will have to optimize it for surveys, especially engagement surveys, then for a tech firm, and finally focusing on diversity, health and wellness, we will have to make sure the model answers those. Let's now see a quick demo. So let's start by running natural language processing or NLP to extract tokens from engagement surveys, representing the most frequently used terms in most insightful open-ended questions. The left hand shows these tokens as themes in a cloud, in a tag cloud. Now we'll click on the tokens on the left-hand side to see related anonymized results on the right. Quite a decent start. In one click of a button, I was able to extract information from unstructured survey data and understand the actionable themes for the company. Step 2 now, we will enrich these insights by applying our business rules. Since our focus this year is on diversity and health and wellness, in fact every year, we will feed the model with related ontology and increase the weights for the desired terms. the sales manager role stands out. We know there is an inflection point for high attrition in our org, especially after 2 to 3 years tenure. So we have filtered down the insights for 2 to 3 years tenure. In the next step, we will augment this analysis with domain-specific knowledge using organizational network analysis or ONA, a structured way to visualize how communication, information, and decision flows through an organization. HR has added targeted business questions to engagement surveys to draw these insights. Now, what we see here is a scatter plot. On the y-axis, employees have identified how effective they consider their interactions with another employee. The x-axis shows how they rate their colleagues as approachable. Sales managers, plotted on the top right, are seen as highly effective in their collaboration and easy to reach, while on the lower right are seen as highly approachable but less desirable. A quick look at the revenue indicated by the size of the bubble here makes it evident that our A players are bringing in bulk of the revenue. Okay, finally, let us layer in attrition risk to understand the impact on our business. Now, using attrition risk as the color, a few patterns emerge now. We see on the top, our A players are performing well and able to interact effectively with many folks. Their risk of attrition is low for them, possibly because they are able to meet the quota and are also recognized internally, so they feel appreciated. Now, the middle indicates a different story. These B players may be high potential at their 2 to 3 year mark, but are at a risk. They seem too engaged in too many conversations because of their high approachability, but they may not be able to deliver effectively on their quota and are leaving because they don't see a future here. We can possibly save them by enrolling them in professional development programs or figuring out alternative program solutions, right? A quick recap. What did we do? We first used ML models based on text analytics and regressions. We applied business rules to the text analytics on engagement surveys and ONA and learned that sales managers, especially the high potential, high collaborative ones, need help in meeting their quota. We also enriched attrition risk by augmenting the ML models with managerial predictions from HCM Cloud, HCM taxonomy, and customer-specific factors like tenure and strategic roles. Now, AI ML is best when it is invisible. A lot has happened behind the scenes in this 4-minute demo showing how people analytics can help business users in a frictionless manner without even realizing that AI was at play. Thank you. Elad, back to you.
Thank you, Manisha. That was great. And so, while we're not yet fully invisible, we're getting there. We're starting on this journey, and that's our vision for AI. That's how we're going to make AI work for you. And in order to do this, we have our own data science platforms for building, deploying, and managing machine learning models. You can join my colleagues for the rest of the day and hear about them, and also attend multiple hands-on labs to try them out and all the new updates. These are all great products. We're really proud of the work we've done so far on the journey ahead. I also want to mention today that we're actually adding a new category of AI services that come out of the box, pre-trained for users who want to just apply AI to their business problem. And we're still early on the journey, but the first set of AI services is coming for limited preview. And we talk about our OCI AI services. Our goal here is not only to make it easy for developers to apply AI without needing data science expertise, but also to empower data science teams to effectively collaborate with those developers and data engineers and operators and deliver AI-powered solutions. One of the maybe only advantage of being a little bit of a latecomer to this game is that we actually build all of these things together, and our AI services are actually built on top of our data science platform. So it allows you to look at the pre-trained AI model, start with the great models that we will provide, will be customized by domain and by industry, and by your customer data, but then very easily tune them and improve them by bringing together all the different roles in the customer's environment, because everything simply is built on top of a single consistent platform. And so you have machine learning that spans across both applications and services across developers and data scientists. And we are going to have services for speech and vision and language and decision. In fact, our language service is available in limited availability, our new language service. You can go to the OCI console and start playing with this and evaluating this. And you'll see the basic capabilities there, and shortly we'll be releasing the domain-specific flavors and allow you to customize this with your own data, again, all on a single consistent platform. If you want to join our beta program and have early access to our AI services, starting with language and decision, which are coming up right now, just send an email to OCI-services-beta@oracle.com, and we'll get you set up. Now, like as parting words, I want to share with you maybe one final analogy. Because some of you are thinking that, like, look, this is never going to work for me. There's no way someone could build a Lego set just for my scenario. My scenario is so specific. My industry is just so complex. My data is just like so unique. It will just like never work. And I want to share an analogy with you from another domain. So this is another domain that is heavy in analytics, heavy in machine learning, very specific problem, but the technology is actually matured enough to become invisible so that every company uses it and completely forgets about it. And as you can see by the image, I'm talking about antivirus software. I was going to ask you, how do you protect your company's most valuable assets against malware or malicious attacks? I'm getting a 99.9% of you would not say, we hired a team of data scientists, they collected millions of data points, spent 2 years training and tuning complex machine learning models, and then deployed it on every machine. You would then need to go and say, look, we even have a team of scientists 24/7 that spend all their time investigating new attack vectors, collecting new data, adding new machine learning models to continuously protect our organization against evolving attacks. Okay? Am I right? Like, you would not do that. Antivirus is invisible. You probably pay a yearly subscription to a Microsoft or a McAfee or a Norton or whatever, or maybe even use some open source thing. You don't think about this problem. You don't go and retune your models whenever you hear of a new worm or a malicious piece of software. You completely outsource this to an expert and you forget about it. Invisible, right? Now, if you're a Microsoft or an Amazon and you run, I don't know, billions of assets in the cloud, you probably don't want to install some random third-party software on your cloud machine. So you probably have your own team building and maintaining anti-malware software. But anyone else? Outsource. And you know what? I'll tell you a secret. These antivirus companies, they actually work together. They exchange signatures. They notify each other of holes. If there's a new attack, they'll collaborate on the fastest way to plug the holes. Sounds amazing, right? But for whatever reason, most AI services today don't work like that. They are the level of the basic Lego blocks. If you're a pharma company, you don't actually want to be in the business of building and maintaining medical entity recognition. No healthcare company wants to go, hey, there's a new disease, COVID-19. Let's go retrain all of our models so that they recognize the disease as well. Let's get our data scientists and BioBert and a GPU farm and retrain the model so this new disease is recognized. If I'm an insurance company and I allow customers to upload a photo of the new car and get an insurance quote, I really don't want to go, hey, Toyota just released a new 2021 Sienna. It has a completely different look. Let's go collect all the Sienna images and retrain the machine learning model. Like, nobody wants to do that. Life is too short. And my point for all this session and where I believe the future of AI will go is that the water level needs to rise. Okay? The general purpose AI models, as good as they are, as amazing as they are, billion parameters, blah, 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 they need to work for your scenario. They need to work, if you're in banking, they need to know what machine learning use cases are relevant for banking and solve for that. If you're in telco, solve for that. If you're in retail, solve for that. Manufacturing, oil and gas, automobile. They also need to be functional, like departmental. If I'm in HR and I'm asking, employee is asking a question, could I bring my pet to work? And I have a document that talks about dogs and cats, then this should be pulled out, even if pet does not exactly equal dog. Like, it should be close enough. If I'm asking about MLOA, somebody should know what that is and pick the right acronym for the job. If I have OCI as an acronym or Ziklik for Enterprise as a product ID, that thing should work. It should suck in data from either general purpose Oracle-based or cloud-based systems that know what HR means, or for my own specific ontologies, my own specific vocabulary that sit inside my database, inside my applications. So it actually knows that Ziklik for Enterprise is a product for my company. It's not just a random term. And OCI is Oracle's cloud infrastructure. It's something very, very specific that relates for deploying and hosting, and it should just work out of the box. That's it for me. Thank you so much for listening. Please stick around for one of our next 2 sessions. We have Accelerating Data Science using the Oracle Accelerated Data Science SDK with JR and Nupur. And in parallel, we have our first AI services to how to detect anomalies in your data using Oracle's next generation AI services with Ranjit. You can visit the event agenda for all the session links. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Elad, for that great keynote presentation. And I'm going to take just a couple minutes to go over a little bit of the instructional information that I went over in the introduction, just for those people who may have missed it. So the way this is going to work is we have 2 tracks of talks, and we'll have 2 talks running at the same time for each session. And the way you'll tell which 2 talks are active is the Join Now buttons will turn yellow for the active talks. So if you haven't joined yet, or if you somehow drop out and you need to rejoin the session, just go back to the agenda page, click the yellow button for the talk that you'd like to join. And that should be about as hard as that is. The talks will be followed by a panel discussion, and you'll join that the same way. Click the yellow button. And after the panel discussion will be some hands-on labs. We've got 4 to choose from, 2 at a time. The hands-on labs have proven to be very popular in the previous events, so lab attendance is limited to try and give the instructors so that they can provide you with the best support that can be provided. And attendance will be on a first-come, first-served basis. So once the panel discussion's over, get to the agenda, click on the button for the lab that you want to join so you can get your seat reserved. So let me switch back over to here. And the way you ask questions, pretty much anything that's not one of the hands-on labs is going to be in the webinar format, meaning that to ask a question, there'll be a Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen. Click the Q&A button, type in your question. One of our experts will try and answer the question while the presenter is speaking, and then there probably will be a few questions left over for the 10 minutes at the end of the talk, and that's when they'll answer the rest of the questions. For the hands-on labs, they will be in a meeting format, meaning that instead of a Q&A button down here, you'll see a chat button. By default, most questions will just be asked in chat. If the instructor for the lab has a preference on a different way to try and answer questions, they'll let you know once the lab starts. All right, let me switch back over to the slide deck. And next up are going to be, you can choose between one of these 2 talks. One talk is Accelerating Data Science using the Oracle Accelerated Data Science SDK. And that will be from Jean-René and Nupur. And the other talk will be Detect Anomalies in Your Data using Oracle's Next Generation AI Services. And that will be from Ranjit. I hope I said everybody's name correctly. If not, I apologize. That's my bad. I need to work on that. But those will be the next sessions that are available. You can jump out to the agenda at any time, and when the buttons are yellow, click on the yellow button for the session that you want to join. The speakers are off in a green room getting ready, so as soon as they're ready, the session will just start. Let me check my notes, make sure I covered everything. All right, looks like everything's good. I will let you go join the session that you'd like to. Thank you for spending your time with me.